Thank you. That will conclude our public participation and take us to item number 13, which is our items where action is necessary or appropriate on matters discussed in executive session. We have 3 items there. Item 3B is our first matter. And do we have a motion? Mr. Cates.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board authorize the administration to enter a contract with Quackenbush Associates for programming services for a new elementary school not to exceed $118,000. Quackenbush is the highest ranked firm for design for the new elementary school. And to meet the timeline for the new elementary school, we have determined that moving forward with programming while we complete negotiations on the entire design contract are in the best interests of the district. The parties have agreed that those services and their costs will be excluded from final design contract.
Thank you. We have a second. Ms. Hutchison seconds. Is there any discussion? Ms. Hammond?
I think it would be good for us to explain the maybe the scope of the program, or the reasoning behind the program contract, because I think it's innovative and maybe not one I knew about till today. But do you want to explain it?
I'll let you explain it since you've offered that.
It is looking at, it is using stakeholders in the community and different types of stakeholders, whether they're teachers, administrators, nurses, community members. And it is actually looking at the programs that you want to see in a new school. And it is from those programs that the design is accomplished. And so and they've done it before, but to me it was innovative. I've not seen that or explained to me like that. So I do think that it's putting, you're finding out exactly what programs, in other words, what they're going to teach, what kind of subjects, how it would be best to arrange that room, how kids learn best. And so this is a new way, in my mind, to put this first before any architectural design. Did I do that right?
That's a good job, Ms. Hammond. And Ms. Hammond is right. This is an innovative approach that they've used many times, and I think we even had the approach used at our middle school next door. But all the stakeholders are involved in the process of developing the programs that will be in that school. So it seemed to be a very good way to designate. At the end of the day, it should save us time and money in the routes that we go. But thank you, Ms. Hammond, for that. Any other discussion or comment on that? See none. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. That passes unanimously. That brings us to item 3C, which is the request for approval of instruction in a place other than school, shown as Exhibit A. Do I have a motion? Mr. Haltwanger.
Mr. Chairman, I move that for the approval of instruction at a place other than school, it's located in Exhibit A.
Do we have a second? Ms. Baumgartner seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. That brings us to 3D, which is a selected employment item shown in Exhibit B. Do I have a motion? Ms. Baumgartner.
Mr. Gant, I move that we approve selected employment items as shown in Exhibit B.
Do we have a second? Ms. Hutchison seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. And that will take us to item number 14, which is our first reading of proposed new board policy IKADD, content and credit recovery, and the administrative rule that accompanies that, shown in Exhibit C. Do we have any? We had extensive discussion on that last time, and in fact, Mr. Giuliano, I want to compliment you on that. We really had probably the best discussion we've had on policies like that in a long time, so it was really great. But I would entertain a motion, and then we'll go to any explanation that we need. Did anyone willing to make a motion on that? Ms. Baumgartner.
I move that we give first reading of proposed new board policy IKADD, content and Credit Recovery, and Administrative Rule IKADD-R, Content in Credit Recovery, and IKADDE, Credit Recovery Application as shown in Exhibit C.
We have a second. Ms. Hammond seconds, and that will open us up for any discussion on the rule or the policy. Yes, sir. Any discussion? It was great coverage last time. All right, seeing none, all those in favor of giving first reading approval of the new board policy shown in Exhibit C, please raise your hand. That passes unanimously. That brings us to item number 15, which is our first reading of proposed new board policy IKFC, Employability Credential, and Administrative Rule IKFC-R, Employability Credential, shown in Exhibit D. Have a motion, Ms. Hutchison.
I move that we give first reading approval of proposed new board policy IKFC Employability Credential and Administrative Rule IKFC-R Employability Credential, as shown in Exhibit D.
And do we have a second? Ms. Hammond seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. And that brings us to item number 16, which is the approval of the appointment of the Richland County to the Richland County Board of Assessment, shown in Exhibit E. Do we have a motion? Mr. Cates.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we give approval of appointment to the Richland County Board of Assessment, first reading of Exhibit E.
Do we have a second? Ms. Baumgartner seconds. Is there any discussion? Ms. Hutchison.
This is really a question. I was just wondering if in the motion we should include the name of our appointee.
That's probably a great idea to do that. Would you like to amend and do that?
Or make a friendly, yeah.
Great idea.
If we would just, would you like to restate
You
that?
can make a friendly.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to restate that motion to include the name Robert Milam III as in our packet in Exhibit E.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Hutchison. Any further discussion? I would like to publicly thank Mr. Milam. That's a position I believe he's held down at least probably 2 to 3 years. I'm not sure, but it's a service position. He does appeals with the County Assessment Appeals Board and represents this area. So it's necessary, but we've in the past had turnover of that. So any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. And that brings us to our discussion agenda.